So Maker is very hard to define. It's sort of a new label that's been placed on a bunch of different communities that have been doing DIY, hands-on projects for probably hundreds of years. It's helping sort of change some of the education programs we do around art and technology, making them really hands-on, having young people go through the design process and figure out, you know, how does stuff work? How do I build what I want to see in the world? Part of the whole point of us putting together this first Maker Institute was to help DreamYard really crystallize what our particular approach is, and that approach is really fueled by both art and social justice. And the way that we sort of figured out how to do that this week was to use the DreamYard framework, which is based in the core values of create, empower, and connect. And under each of those core values, there are a series of questions like, who am I? Where am I from? What's my superpower? What's my kryptonite? Who do I admire? Having the participants take one of those questions and then tie it to a certain type of maker skill, like digital photography or physical computing or 3D printing. And we had them kind of brainstorm different activities that they could do within the maker realm to explore those questions.
We made an interactive map. The theme that we're working with is where am I from? And people make objects that represent their country or a place they feel connected to. And then what they do is they put the object on the map and they pick up a mic. We used a Makey to sort of work as the key functions, and then when you put the object down, you're projected onto the screen and we just interview them about like where they're from and why they made what they made. A lot of what I do and think about is rooted in social justice, culturally based projects and like learning opportunities, and rooting the work that students are making into their own identities and just sort of emphasizing the fact that their lives matter and their stories matter.
I think when you talk about something, people listen, but I think when you actually make something, people really, it really fits in there eternally into their beliefs. That's really what I see. It's more impactful when you're talking about when you're actually making social justice, like you're creating something that represents the social justice that you want to see in the world.
For example, I decided to make my headband of courage. It's for I have problems with public speaking, so I'm using this to distract people from my face. So focus on the headband instead of my face, and I can calmly speak without problems.
Why a vest? What's the vest for?
Because one of the things that my weaknesses is being mindful and being like in the moment. So I wanted to, and I care too much about people, so sometimes that also is a problem, you know, becomes a problem. So I want a vest to cover my heart.
I mean, there's different types of making, you know, there's making for utility, you know, like solving some sort of problem or meeting a certain need. There's also making for just the pleasure of the process, you know, where utility is not such a priority, like it's the process that one gets enjoyment out of.
So these are some art bots, and basically it's a motor and a 9-volt battery and some markers. It's not perfect, but when it works, it moves along and scribbles kind of like this. And so when people come today, they can create one of these and decorate it any way that they want, and they can go on the outside, and then we'll test it, and then they can take this home with them.
When it does come to making, I really just want people, kids, students, adults, to just be creative and be themselves and have fun with what they're doing. It's as simple as that.
Social justice and art can be integrated with Maker. There's times when you just need to learn skills, but you also eventually want to get your young people to make about something, and ideally that would be about themselves or their community. So hopefully they'll walk away with this ability, or at least have worked that muscle out a little bit on how to do that.
Because I think with a lot of like more traditional art forms, the sort of like wow of it comes in like, oh wow, how did you do this? I can't do this, so I'm really impressed. But I think with making, the wow of it is like, not only did I make something cool, but I want to share with you how I did it, so you can make your own version, you can remix it, and you can just sort of like interpret this creation in your own way. So I think it really sort of democratizes art making and creation in general. I think it's really cool.